Right, hello there, this is day one then, following on from the first video. I apologise for the tapping in the first video. That was me with my pen on my desk. I was going to say I like to fiddle with things, but that's probably not the best phrasing. I will endeavour not to today. You may hear the slight shuffling of papers as I look over my notes from the day. Yes, I woke up, got up fairly late, to be honest, after not going to bed until 4 o'clock. I left my billet here, went straight out into the Bronx, which is a very interesting area. It's actually the first place I've ever heard anybody greeted with the term "Yo" or "What's up, dog," and in a non-ironic fashion. It was the very first place I've heard that. I no doubt I'll hear it again. I hope I hear it again. If only to reassure myself I'm not going to start staring bonkers. But no, that was genuinely something I heard this morning as I was walking to the tube station. Now I had a brief conversation while I was waiting at the metro station with a chap there who said I looked very gangster, he was shortly after taken off to the asylum, but he did call me his brother as well. So I'm terribly sorry, Matt. I'm going to have to announce some open sort of auditions next week, and if you don't make the cut, Matt, I'm terribly sorry. I'm going to have to go with my brother in the hood here, if only because he's nearer for the moment. So a direct message to Matt there. Sorry. Now I've spoken to a couple of you. Made a couple of promises to various people since I arrived. I will try and fulfil those to the best of my ability. Now, yes, I got on the metro. Now, seriously, New York, you need to clean your metro. I don't know if it's ever been cleaned, because it certainly doesn't look like it has. But seriously, just take a brush to it occasionally. You know, I mean, even if it involves just fitting a big fluffy sort of pad on the front of your trains to clear it, because it's filthy down there. You walk in and you feel like you're covered in grease automatically. But yeah, they do adhere to the rule, though, that everything is bigger in America, whereas on the tube in London, you have tube mice. Here they have tube rats, which can grow to rather an impressive size. I mean, you may seriously, you may think that London is bad. The London tube is bad, but at least you've only got, old editions of the Metro announcing the end of the Zulu Wars blowing through there. I mean, here you've got all sorts of stuff. It's horrible. Anyway, so now I managed to get on the metro. I did finally find my way around it as well. I found it a bit badly labelled as well. I think it needs a PR relabelling for all us idiot tourists. And I thought I'd go. Given all the green I enjoyed yesterday on my trip, I thought I head straight over to Central Park. I thought I've been told that that's a very nice place to get a feel for the place. I don't think I really got a feel for the place. I've got a feel for what it's like to live in London, which will be useful for next year, because there were so many Brits there. But being British, nobody actually acknowledged that anyone else was British, and there was a sort of, you were walking around the park in a kind of perpetual awkward silence until a bunch of Americans or a bunch of French people or some other nationality turned up and started chattering away, and all the British people looked around disapprovingly, saying, "Oh, that's not the done thing, is it?" But yeah, no, lots of green and lots of water. There's a lot of water in there, and I quite like that. I mean, obviously back home we do have water in our parks, but it's not quite on the same scale. And there was also a lot of terrapins, or turtles, as they were referring to them. Constant, oh, look at all the lovely turtles. It did take me quite a lot of moral rectitude and strength not to just throw them straight into the lake, into their lovely turtles. But they're terrapins, America. Turtles swim in the sea. Tortoises are the ones on the land, and the ones that are kind of a bit of both, they're terrapins. I mean, I know turtles go on land occasionally, but that's usually for breeding purposes, and, you don't claim to be bedridden just because you have sex occasionally, or shower ridden, or wherever you decide. Getting slightly off the point there, sorry. Yes, but I know I like a good terrapin or turtle, something of a kindred spirit. Not only because we are mutually cold-blooded, but also because I have a colonial familiar back home in my tortoise. who is doing well, I hope. Probably get a report back on that next time I speak to my parents, or my brother, conceivably. If my brother is still around, given the open auditioning process. Just a reminder of that, Matt. Prepare yourself some sort of dramatic piece. You know what I like. Just do something like that. Yeah, but no, lots of water, and there are a lot of people in boats as well, even on the paths and on the grass, which is a little odd. I might be lying about that, just possibly. But no, there were lots of people in boats rowing around on the lakes and on the paths and in the trees and in the sky, and that was beautiful. They all seemed to know what they were doing. I saw one boat rocking around rather violently. I don't know what was happening in that one. I didn't want to inquire too closely. But they seem to be able to stay in it, which I suppose is a success. Lots of wildlife. A lot of wildlife is the same. A lot of starlings, obviously, and everyone's sick of starlings by now. And mind you, everyone was sick of starlings when they first evolved. And convinced that nature tried to throw them back, but there were just too many by the time that they got round to it. But yeah, some nice birds which I haven't got around to identifying yet. No doubt somebody will be able to reference me. It was a sort of a lovely it was like a blackbird, I would say, with a red chest, which I think I'm sure I've seen one at home, which would be bizarre because I know they're not native. Maybe one escaped. But yes, lots of sparrows and passerines, and then squirrels, of course, the little grey bastards scampering all over the place. But it can't be helped, can it? Well, not without a comprehensive extermination program. But given the grey ones are pretty much all you have over here, I suppose that would be a little challenging. I think to harken back to the old Emu War in Australia, where the Australian Army took on the emu hordes. The American Army's great battle against the squirrels. To be quite honest, I'm not sure who I'd put the money on winning. The amount of friendly fire incidents you get on the one side would probably balance out the complete ineffectiveness of squirrels at doing anything but chirruping and eating nuts. But yes, no, there's a nice reservoir, the Jackie Kennedy Onassis Reservoir, I found out it was called. And there was a sort of random water fountain in the middle. It looked quite lonely. I thought that might have been symbolic of all the lonely nights Jackie Kennedy spent waiting for her husband to return from his bits of stuff all over Washington. But I may be misinterpreting that completely. Please, any of my American friends and colleagues, feel free to correct me on that one, and to tell me if I'm being very offensive on that one. And I shall be sure to shut myself up and then start the next video with an apology. Yes, there's another thing. I'm sorry you're not getting any video footage of this. It's actually I couldn't find a way of overlaying images on video on my Movie Maker, which is a bit annoying, not without fiddling around with the settings. It's probably not a bad thing actually, because at the moment, despite the fact that I slathered myself in factor 50 and spent most of my time hiding under trees, I am in fact right now doing a rather good impersonation, if I do say so myself, of a man pretending to be a bowl of strawberries and cream. So I'm a bit mottled at the moment. So if I ever need to disguise myself against a murdered swan, then I'm probably going to be doing all right. I did find two Canada geese fishing I think it was in the reservoir. I duly reported them as illegal immigrants because they were clearly working illegally in the country. I thought it was best to report that to the police, if only to have their documents checked, which they were. They didn't look like they had any documents, but again, I might be wrong on that one. I know the NYPD, the gallant boys in blue, and their very big. I was going to say they're very big pistols. Again, that doesn't sound very good, but their armaments can check those. I have to say it's still a little odd for me as a Brit seeing armed police everywhere. But they're friendly enough. I spoke to one of them. I could tell they were friendly enough because he didn't put the handcuffs on until after I'd said hello, so I can tell that they're nice and friendly. But the central part was lovely. Yes, there was a nice, lovely skyline around it, which at one end does seem to stop, and it's like looking off the end of the world as in the flat Earth view. It's a bit like that. But there's a nice statue. This is one for the sort of more technically minded of you, a nice statue of dit dar dit 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 dit. There you go. Go away and translate that and find out who I'm talking about if you are monumentally, colossally, unaware, frankly. But then after that, after I'd sort of been around the whole of Central Park, I went into the city itself. Well, the first thing I noticed actually, about every 500 meters or so, there's a smell of bad feet, sort of stale socks. I'm not exactly sure why this is. I can only understand that the people with stale feet congregate in these areas, and then there's a sort of pallor that settles on the ground like some sort of bizarre nuclear fallout. I went straight into Times Square. Turned the corner over. I went down Fifth, I think it was, and I turned the corner into Times Square, and I was immediately slapped in the face by the assets of some woman on a billboard. It was a rather fetching bikini. I won't deny that, but it was rather a shock to turn the corner and be immediately smashed in the face with a bit of chest furniture. Not unpleasant, but a bit of a surprise. After I'd sort of walked around there, I walked down Broadway, had a look at the theatre district. I felt kind of obligated to. It was very, very interesting. And I did go. I went and had lunch in Madison Square Park by the Flatiron Building, which was rather nice. I think I'm going to take some clothes along tomorrow, see if I can get them done. So I had a nice little lunch there. I don't know what I was eating, to be honest, and I don't think it had ever, seen a kitchen or anything edible. But it filled a gap. And after that, it was getting on for sort of 4 o'clock. So I headed down to the Air and Space Museum, the Intrepid, on the old USS Intrepid, in the Hudson River. Unfortunately, by the time I got there, it was actually just closed. But I thought I'd go as a token gesture. I think I'll go back tomorrow and see about doing that then, because I know they've got the Enterprise space shuttle there, which being a massive geek, I'd quite like to see. So I had to sort of reconsider my plans. So I did the standard tourist thing, went straight off to the Empire State Building to do the observation deck at the top. It turns out I was actually quite surprised. It turns out it wasn't built by Daleks, which I previously had thought it was. According to that, there was a documentary or something on BBC Two. No, BBC One it would have been, I think. And yeah, they were building the tower, and I was rather surprised to find that it wasn't actually built by them. It was, however, built in a year, which is quite impressive. I mean, it's quite a big building, and they aimed at, I think it said that they aimed at one floor a day, 1 story a day. That's probably not used to a lot of you. I know that is fairly sort of general knowledge, but it's still, I think, quite a worthy point of reflection on. Lovely views from the top, of course. There was a sort of diva pigeon, which you'll see in some of the pictures. I haven't timed the video to the pictures, so you might have already seen it. But it did. It kept getting in the way of my shots, which was a bit irritating. Eventually, it flew off after I told it how fabulous it looked. It did fly off and stop buggering up my angles, as it were. Looking around, I think I've done a bit of false advertising. I think Macy's was advertising itself still as the biggest store in the world. Now I think that's flawed. I'm not absolutely convinced of that, but I think that is flawed now. I'm sure I've been to. I think so either the Cardiff or the Kudam. I can never remember when German teachers are going to kill me. It's one of the two that's the shopping centre and one's the street. But that one I think is actually bigger than Macy's now. And there were no doubt in Saudi Arabia and all these other places there are also bigger stores. I went to have dinner then. I went to it was an Italian place. I got good reviews and stuff on TripAdvisor, but it was actually pretty dire. It was pretty awful. I was sat next to Business Cliche Man, who was one of the unsuccessful Marvel superheroes from, I think it was from the late 80s. I mean, it was when they introduced. He was a frequent collaborator, Business Cliche Man, with Man Boobs, who was another one of the big superheroes at the time. Didn't quite take off in the manner that they had hoped. And after that, I was finished. And I know the pictures have now run out, and you've probably just been staring at a black screen now for about 5 minutes. Yes, so that was today. Today being the 2nd of June. So I shall see what tomorrow brings, what magical adventures are brought to me, and I shall report back at the end of tomorrow. If you have any questions, things you think I should do, um, abuse, personal or otherwise, desperate pleas for me to just fuck off, then please do get in touch, and I'll endeavour to do at least some of them. But I'm not going to stop doing these videos because why should I, frankly? Even if nobody ever watches them, which is what I expect, I want them to be on the internet so that the internet knows that I exist. Because I need validation on the internet, frankly. So yes, so I shall speak to you again tomorrow, see what tomorrow brings, and yes, have a good night, or a good day, as it will probably be for anyone watching these back home. And yes, I shall speak to you soon. Bye bye.